All right, if everyone please stand. We've got, we're going to do a little something different with prayer tonight. I'd like to recognize a good friend and also one of our employees here, Darvin Couch. He's going to lead us in prayer, and Darvin's been with the county probably 20, 25 years. He's resource officer at the high school, and these are men of faith, not just faith, but integrity and high character. And we're just pleased to have Darvin. Darvin, would you come and lead us in prayer at this time?
Let's all pray. Our kind, loving Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you once again today. We thank you for this day that you've given us. Thank you for watching over us throughout the night, or out the day, Lord. Ask that you watch over us throughout the night, Lord. We ask that you just go with us and be with us each and every step that we take. Lord, we ask that you be with our country, be with our leaders. Ask that you be with our commissioners, Lord, tonight as they go through the meeting. That, Lord, just lead, guide, and direct them the way you'd see fit. Be with our little citizens here in the county we love so dear. Lord, just watch over each and every one. We ask that you remember those, Lord, that's lost loved ones. Lord, I ask that you give them a comfort, the strength, and the peace to go forward. I ask that you remember those, Lord, that's sick and afflicted. Lord, we ask that you just be with them, bless them, go with them each and every day. Lord, we thank you for it all. In your sweet and holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
you.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, under unfinished business, approve the minutes of the June 28, 2022 regular scheduled board meeting. Commissioner Patterson, any errors or omissions in the minutes?
I have none, Chairman. Thank you.
Commissioner Searson?
Commissioner Sarsi.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the June 28, 2022 regular scheduled board meeting. I'll make that motion and ask for a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Under new business, gentlemen, before we get started, item number 9, I actually need to put this on our July the 26th meeting, and I believe that is in order to give the cities an opportunity to pass the resolutions as well. So I'll make a motion that we table number 9, which is the board action on the service delivery strategy for Fannin County municipalities, to July the 26th. I'll make that motion. Ask for a second.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 3 is a variance request from Red Hawk Holdings of Georgia to build a house with a porch 16 feet from the edge of the road and 22 feet from the center line of access road off Tanglewood Cove. Is there anyone here that opposes this? Anyone here that is for it? All right. Commissioner Patterson, any?
I just have one question. Went out there, looked at it. It's pretty steep drop off. Are y'all gonna do some fill dirt there?
Yes, sir.
I saw the road and it just goes down.
Yes, sir. So we'll be pouring a foundation wall and then backfilling all that to create parking.
But you're gonna keep, it's gonna be 16 feet from the edge.
Yes, sir. To the front porch.
From the edge of the road.
Yes, sir.
22 feet from the center line.
Yeah, I apologize. My builder couldn't be here today,
Yeah.
so I was 16 feet from the edge of the road to the front porch, and it'll be 24 feet to the structure.
Okay. Mr. Henson, you got to the front porch, is that gonna be, that would suffice?
It is, and, that was my concern, was gonna make sure that it was to the front porch, not to the house, and then the front porch added on to the road.
Correct.
So, also talked with, Keith Nicholson about that, and that's pretty much what he said, the same, was
Okay.
make sure that it's to the porch, and then additionally after that, so.
Right, I see that.
Commissioner Cersei? Any comments on this variance request?
Everything's fine.
All right. Anything else, Commissioner Patterson?
No.
Okay. All right. I will ask for a motion that we approve the variance request from Red Hawk Holdings of Georgia LLC. I'll ask for that motion.
I'll make a motion, Chairman.
I'll ask for a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Uh,
Okay, so number 4 on the new business is Amanda Wilson with Basin Carter and Company, with the Fannin County Annual Financial Report for year ending December 31st of 2021. And Ms. Wilson is via Zoom. So, if we'll turn off some lights and Ms. Wilson, if you would, here in just a moment, if you can make this presentation, we appreciate it.
Excellent. Are you guys?
Hang on just 1 second, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me well?
Nope, I'm gonna get a microphone here, I think, and try to put it over here where you can.
Hey, it's like I'm there.
Yeah. Try it again. Just say hello.
Can you hear me well?
Anybody can hear?
A little hot. Pump it up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. One more time.
Testing, testing.
That's
Okay.
better.
So we'll be quiet. All right, Ms. Wilson, go ahead.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for letting me come and speak to you at today's meeting. My name is Amanda Wilson, audit partner at Bates & Carter, and I'm here to give an overview of the audit for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2021. So to first put it in perspective, what we're presenting here, we have the auditor's report of the financial statements. The opinion on the financial statements in the auditor's report is that they are unmodified, which is also known as a clean opinion, which means that the financial statements are presented clearly and in agreement with the generally accepted accounting principles here in the United States of America. Other reports that are included with the financial statements are the report on internal controls and compliance, which is required by the governmental auditing standards, which means that we do a review of internal controls that allows us to make this report for how those internal controls are for the county. There's also a report on the federal awards in accordance with uniform guidance that's related to the federal awards that have been received or spent in fiscal year 2021. The financial statements as a whole include all of the departments, funds, and the elected officials of the county. There are also component units that complete this financial report for the county, which includes the component units of the Development Authority, which is included in our audit report and has the same fiscal year end as the county. The other component units that are reported are audited by other auditors and have a fiscal year end of June 30th, 2021. for the Department of Public Health and the Water Authority. So all of those numbers are being included in the final financial statements. To briefly touch on the major funds that are being reported, the general fund is where the majority of the activity is. For 2021, we saw that revenues exceeded expenditures by $6.2 million, which means that fund balance was increased or grown during the year. Overall, the revenues, when in comparison to 2020's revenues, increased by almost $6 million, or about 26%. The reason for those increases have to do with property tax increase that was about $919,000. That's an 11% increase, but I will point out that the millage rate has remained the same. So that increase is due to the increased values that are associated with that millage rate. Sales taxes also increased by about $1.2 million. That shows us that we are in the second consecutive year that has seen at least a 20% growth in the amount of sales taxes that are being collected in the county. That is, again, a good indicator of not only growth in the economy, but people that are coming into your county to spend their money. Intergovernmental revenue overall decreased by about $791,000. That's mainly the difference between what was recognized as revenue this year in federal funding and what was recognized last year from the receipts that the county received from the CARES Funding Act that came in 2020. Transfers, which is money that's coming into the general fund from other funds of the county, increased by about $2.4 million. $1.4 million is because of increased activity with the hotel motel tax, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. An additional $1 million was transferred into the general fund from a separate fund reporting the funding that was received by the American Rescue Plan, which again we'll talk about in a moment as well. Overall, revenues exceeded the budget by $5.7 million, which means that more money came in than what was budgeted for by the county. The main differences that we were seeing on the budget is fines and forfeitures, licenses and permits, charges for services. These are county-generated revenues. Were all in excess of budgeted amounts. The transfers that we were just talking about of money coming into the general fund was also not included in the county's budget. So that was one of the reasons why these revenues are higher than what we actually saw in the budget. So to look at what the county spent out of the general fund in 2021, overall expenditures increased by $1.6 million when compared to 2020. That's an overall increase of about 7%. The main increases that we saw that made up the amount of the additional spending in 2021, there was an increase in the health claims that the county was paying, and again, that can fluctuate from year to year based on what actual activity there is. And there was an overall increase in wages and benefits that the county is paying of about $860,000, which is about a 9% increase from what we had seen in 2020. When we're looking at how the expenditures compared to the budget for the general fund, the budget was more than expenditures overall by about $500,000. There's an even distribution of where that overage is really coming from, but I wanted to point out where some of the major differences is. Public health was $153,000 under their budget. Judicial expenditures were $123,000 under budget overall, and the general government expenditures were about $136,000 under the total budget for those functions. So overall, what we saw was that the budget was being maintained throughout the departments. This graph is just a quick overview about what the general fund's activity has been for revenues and expenditures for each year over the past 5 years. As you can see, in the last couple of years, we've seen that the expenditures from the general fund have not been more than the revenues. So that means that for the last couple of years, the county has actively grown the amount of fund balance that is attributed to the general fund. This chart is a percentage that shows how much of the unreserved fund balance in the general fund, so this is the fund balance that's available for the general fund to be using for operations, how that compares to a normal annual amount of operating costs from the general fund. So we see that increase again this year to where the calculation shows that at the end of 2021, the amount that's being held in the general fund unreserved designation of fund balance is about 72% of the annual operating costs. What this indicates is that the county is able to cash flow the main expenditures for the county for an approximate about 72% of the next fiscal year. So there is the ability to have this fund balance in reserve to be used for operations or the what commissioners have deemed to be used for future projects. Moving away from the general fund, I'm going to touch on some of the highlights from each of the major funds that are reported individual columns if you're looking at the financial statements and the way that they are reported. The excise lodging tax is a major fund, and so it's reported individually as well in the financial statements. For 2021, the collections from hotel motel totaled $5.7 million. This is an increase from the prior year, and as you can see, I've also included a chart here that shows the overall revenues that have been collected over the past 5 years. There were some changes in how this hotel motel tax is being received by the county, specifically related to Airbnb facilities. So we're seeing that increase here in 2021. In 2021, $2.9 million was sent through to the county chamber, and $22.8 million was sent to the general fund for general fund uses. The Fiscal Recovery Fund is a new fund that was started in 2021 to account separately for the funds that are being received through the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. During the year, all of the money that was received is put into this fund. The cash balance at 12/31/21 was $1.5 million. So that's the remainder of the money that the county currently has on hand that can be used for future expenditures that are in line with what the guidelines for American Rescue Plan Act funds to be spent on will be. During the year in 2021, $1.1 million was also spent in addition to the $1.5 million that's still on hand. And that was mainly sent to the general fund to pay for premium pay for eligible workers and the purchase of equipment to respond directly to the COVID-19 pandemic. Finally, the SPLOST fund is a major fund that's reported again separately. In 2021, there were $9.1 million that were collected in SPLOST proceeds. Again, what we're seeing is an increase from the prior year. The total increase in SPLOST collections was about $1.5 million, and that translates to about a 20% growth from 2020's collections. There's additional intergovernmental revenue in this fund of about $992,000 that represents LMIG monies that are coming in to help supplement SPLOST projects for the road projects that are currently ongoing. In 2021, the SPLOST fund spent about $5.5 million, and most of that money was going into the road and bridge projects that are currently ongoing, and then the intergovernmental disbursements that are going to the cities according to the SPLOST referendum. If you would like to have more specific information about the actual projects that are ongoing by the county and what the SPLOST referendum activity has been to date, there is a specific SPOS report on pages 71 and 72 of the audited financial statements that gives more detail about that activity in the current year and the previous years of the SPOS referendum. While we are still talking about the governmental activities, I wanted to touch on the debt that the governmental activities has. So this is debt that has been taken on by the board. Currently, at the end of fiscal year 21, the long-term debt was $388,000. That amounts to capital leases that are in place, and they will mature in fiscal year 2024. That is a very moderate approach to debt management, and I wanted to include a comparison of how Fannin County's debt is in relation to some comparably sized counties. The orange line that you see on the top is the average of the amount of governmental debt that's being held by these other counties. The blue line that you see is Fannin County's debt that is related to its governmental activities. So in 2021, that $388,000 that I previously indicated is at the bottom of this chart. And as you can see, there's a significant difference between the amount of debt that's being held by Fannin County and the debt that comparable counties are using to be able to fund their projects. And finally, to be able to wrap up this conversation about the effect of COVID-19 to the county, at least fiscally, the county has been receiving various different federal funding from the federal government directly related to responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 2020 year, so the prior fiscal year, had received money through the CARES Act. And that money that had come into the county was about $1.2 million. In 2021, the county began receiving money under the ARPA, or the American Rescue Plan Act, which is a part of the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. As of the end of the fiscal year 2021, the county has received about $2.5 million of ARPA funds. And as we discussed previously, about $1.5 million of those funds is still with the county to be spent in the next 2 years. So that is a brief overview of what the financial report looks like for the fiscal year 2021. May I entertain any questions from the board?
I appreciate the overview. Do you have any recommendations? Upcoming year?
I think my recommendation,
Yes.
I think that what you're seeing is that the general fund balance is growing, and there are growth signs in the county's activity that's related to hotel motel tax, SPOS, the money that's coming into the county. There's limited amounts of debt that the county is currently holding. I think that the county can make some informed decisions about how to be able to utilize the fund balance that's currently in the general fund to be able to fund future capital projects with those resources.
Thank you.
Commissioner Searcy?
No, it's just good news. Thank you, for enlightening me on this stuff. I have a lot of questions, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the department heads, and, it seems like everybody's done a good job.
Ms. Wilson, as a, first time I've been through this, I guess on our own budget, you know, from last year to this year, I did learn a lot. I want to thank you for that, because this is new to some of us, for sure. But we thank you for your patience and working with us, and just appreciate it. I guess that's good news coming out, so we're thankful for that. So we just appreciate it.
Well, thank you for. I enjoy working with the county. Please let me know if I can be of a resource to you throughout the year. And I want to really appreciate and publicly thank the finance department and Sherry for all of the help that she's given throughout the audit process. The chairman this is a process to go through an audit, so I'm very grateful for your efforts.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think that's it, Ms. Wilson, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Okay, number 5, under new business, we have UGA Extension Coordinator Ashley Harper regarding the 4-H director for our county.
Good evening. I do have a couple of folders that I'd like to share with you commissioners, if that's okay.
Thank you very much.
So, good evening. As the County Extension Coordinator and Agriculture and Natural Resources Agent for Fannin County, I really would like to communicate my sincere appreciation for your support for our office, as well as thank you for your time to speak with you this evening. For those of you who might not be familiar with the Extension Service, we are a research-based outreach unit of the University of Georgia, and our outreach efforts are focused in 3 major project areas or program areas in local communities. So agriculture and natural resources, 4-H youth development, and also family and consumer sciences. However, in Fannin County, we focus on agriculture and natural resources and 4-H youth and development. So just for an example, as the agriculture agent, I mainly work with local farmers, municipalities such as our cities, our county, obviously, agribusinesses, things of that nature. As for 4-H, which is why I am here before you tonight, our 4-H agents will generally provide targeted outreach efforts for a community's youth. So whether that be offering hands-on learning experiences in schools or after-school activities, providing opportunities for community service, really just the sky's the limit with what 4-H can do in a community. So while Fannin County has an agriculture agent, myself, the 4-H program has been historically supported through temp workers and volunteers who have really shouldered a tremendous amount of the effort to do the outreach component of what the 4-H program stands for in communities. And so upon my hire in September of 2019, I kind of recognized that this program area is really being shouldered by volunteers and temp workers, and it's been amazing what's been accomplished so far, but I made it a priority when I got hired in September of 2019 to really start focusing on Fannin County 4-H and what we can do to support positive youth development in this community. So despite the pandemic hitting a few short months after my hire, we all kind of froze in our tracks, I still think that we've done tremendous positive youth development since I've been hired on, and I kind of would like to spend just a few minutes highlighting some of our successes to lay the groundwork for why I'm interested in advocating for a full-time position for 4-H. So I have a PowerPoint in your folders if you kind of want to follow along with me. So you can see the past 4 years are 4-H enrollment. So 2019 and 2020 were kind of already set in place upon my hire. But you can see in 2021 and 2022, our numbers increased by about 50%. And that's largely because when I did make my most recent hire for AmeriCorps position, we decided to double down our efforts and not just do in-school outreach for 5th grade, but include 4th grade as well. And so that's why those numbers have increased. And just examples of some of our in-school activities that we do. So every single 4th and 5th grader in Fannin County got to see our 4-H staff member deliver in-school lessons. And so we do things like disease transmission, electricity lessons, whatever the teachers are covering, we try to align with that. So skipping ahead, we tried something new in 2021, and that was bringing one of our keystone programs we do across the state that we haven't historically done in Fannin County, and that's Project Achievement, which is a fun term for basically we go into the classroom and work with students, teach them how to research a topic, write about it, basically create a speech, create visual aids, And then they present on that in front of their peers in a speech competition, which, is kind of difficult to get students to do in 4th and 5th grade, like volunteer to do a speech. That's not really something that most students want to do. But I have to tell you, in 2021, it was almost a lost school year, and we worked diligently with the Fannin County school system to make this happen. We had 140 students volunteer to compete in that speech competition in our elementary schools. 140 students volunteer to compete, and it was fantastic. We evaluated the program, and some of the things these students said in their evaluations, you think they're going to complain, but they're saying the exact opposite. They were saying, for example, the most important thing I learned in project achievement is I can speak in front of people. The most important thing I learned in project achievement is I can research better. That is impact, and that's exciting, and so we chased that. And so in 2022, we knew we had to do it again. And our fabulous community partners, UNG Blue Ridge, partnered with us, lended us their facilities, and you can see some of the pictures here. I wish I had taken a bigger picture, a landscape picture, because there were parents and students lined along the left and right of that picture in your packet. So you can see people showed up on a Monday night for a speech competition. And I just think that's really powerful to show the impact of what we can do when we work with our stakeholders, which is what Extension is all about. So for our in-person project achievement for 4th and 5th grade, we had 41 students compete in person. 26 went to district competition, which was hosted in Union County. So these students competed against 10 other counties in our area. All of them came back with 1st, 2nd, 3rd place ribbons. So just really stellar, considering these students have never done this before through 4-H. But just to change gears just a little bit, so one thing we do that's similar to other organizations like FFA is we offer summer camp opportunities. So this year we went to Tybee Island, but something that wasn't ordinary that we weren't expecting was that some of our stakeholders and community partners, Feed Fannin, Kiwanis Club, and several private citizens made some sizable donations. And our families didn't pay a single dime to send these kids to camp. It was fully funded. And so what that tells me is that this community is watching what we're doing and is invested in this program and wants to see kids participate in 4-H, because that was over $6,500 in donations that were unsolicited. These organizations came to us and sent these kids to camp, and they had a great time. So pivoting gears just a little bit, we are an agriculture-based entity. So obviously we're interested in getting these kids involved in agriculture. So we always partner with our local FFA chapter, Young Farmers, for our local youth fair. We send kids to Perry. Whatever we can do to get kids interested and excited about agriculture, we're going to do it. We also offer judging teams. Due to our limited staffing, it's not really something we've been able to pursue to the degree that I would like to see. Our administrative assistant and one of our master gardeners are our coaches. So I'm sure they would enjoy to pass that torch off to somebody else at some point. But we have had a poultry judging team each year. And this is an area where I could see us grow if we had a more cohesive program where we had someone here on a consistent basis that these kids could get to know on a year-to-year basis. So things like forestry, land judging, livestock, whatever, like the sky's the limit. Something else that we could do were we to have a full-time permanent position in place is go after more intensive programming efforts like the safe shooting sports. Like Union County has BB and shotgun and archery, and that's something I could see our community having, but it takes a lot of oversight. You can't have a temp worker who's going to be there for 1 or 2 years shoulder something like that. That's a permanent program, but that's something I could see us having. There are so many other things that I feel like we've done that I'd like to brag about, but for time's sake, I'm not going to go over those. But if you want to, give me a call, I can tell you. But just to, I guess, get to the ask of the matter. So for us to have a full-time 4-H agent, so faculty member, such as myself in this community, the cooperative extension component is that there is a county contribution to the salary package. So the county contribution would be $18,000. The school system has offered to shoulder $10,500 of that 18, so I would like to ask the commissioners to consider funding the remaining portion, which will be $7,500. And this would allow us to put a new position in this community, full-time 4-H agent dedicated 100% to working with Fannin County youth.
So just Fannin County. In other words, you actually have it's a multi-county?
I am a split position, yeah, so I cover Fannin and Gilmer. This position would be 100% Fannin County. So that doesn't mean we wouldn't want to, play with other counties and do things together, but this person would be working strictly with Fannin County youth, doing in-county programming.
Give me a little more detail. Tell me what this person would say. We've got 3 elementary schools. How would they go, once a week, twice a week? In the middle school and the high school, what would their schedule typically be?
Great question. So a lot of our in-school programming, so I mentioned, in the very beginning of my presentation, so that's really focused on 4th and 5th grade. 4th grade is the age where you officially become a 4-H'er. And so those in-school club meetings or in-school lessons are really to get kids hooked and excited about 4-H. So they would be, each 4th and 5th grade class would have a visit once a month. And when you look at the hours, it's pretty intense being able to fit all that in a work week. So
Do they meet together?
No, so it would be each classroom gets their own lesson. So it is a specialized, like this person is coming and spending an hour session or however long that class period is, delivering a lesson on electricity with that class. So yeah, it would be.
How about the middle school and high school?
That would be awesome. So generally we don't do club meetings or monthly meetings with that age group, although we did try working with the middle school this year with the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade STEM and ag classes, where we came like once a quarter and did like a specialized lesson. And I've done that some myself as the ag agent to come in and help support. So, we could definitely work with those schools. Generally, once you get into middle school and high school, that's when you can kind of start doing more of the after-school enrichment programs, such as those judging teams or, community service projects, leadership and action type things. But we could certainly, look into coming in and doing like a guest lecture, or, if a teacher was looking for something specific, like I've done a lot of pollinator outreach type work with the middle school. So if there was a specific ask, absolutely we could work something out. It just probably wouldn't be as intensive as each class gets a visit every week, just because there's not enough hours in the work week to achieve that.
So once a month, would you be overseeing this person?
I would be overseeing this person, and that was just one aspect of what the position is. So that would be certainly an expectation, but this individual would be, asked to do much more than just those in-school meetings.
This person would just be for Fannin, not Gilmer.
Correct. Yeah, this would be just for Fannin County.
Well, I think in a time where, these things right here dictate everything, it'd be fantastic to get these kids out, kind of doing what most of us done growing up, to give them a different way a different outlook on life. How it is to grow something, earn something, things like that. I just, if you pick up 34,000, Board of Education 10.5, we're 75, and put a price on kids' education. You can't. In my opinion, I think it's a pretty good opportunity myself. Commissioner Searcy. Hang on a minute, Commissioner. Hang on a minute. We got technical difficulties with your audio, or you're whispering one.
Actually, I just want to say that, it hasn't been that long. Well, maybe a little longer than I want to admit. But I grew up, with gardening every year. We had hogs and poultry, and had some chickens every once in a while too. So, and we've still got a lot of deep roots, as you said, in the agricultural. People still are really interested in that here and want to be more involved. So I think this is gonna be an excellent program for us.
Thank you, I agree.
You're working too in conjunction with the program we already have at the high school over there.
Oh yes, we're great pals. Yes, we work very well with our middle school and high school and elementary school counterparts for anything related to agriculture and natural resources and beyond.
That facility's pretty nice over there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We enjoy collaborating with those folks quite a bit.
Try it again, Commissioner. No?
Do you anticipate any problems hiring someone?
I never want to anticipate a problem, but I do think about it. So I feel like we live in a very desirable community. I can tell you this, that when the position came up for an agriculture agent, I applied for it in the same day. Was very eager to get up here and work with our agriculture producers, so I would imagine that we will probably have similar interests in our youth education program area as well. So,
Any qualifications?
so it is a master's level position. Now we would consider hiring on at a bachelor level for an exemplary candidate. Because ultimately it comes down to the person. Are they going to be a good fit for this community? Because we can always get them there to that master's level education. That's not a deal breaker, but that is the general requirement and expectation would be they had a master's degree.
Any experience required?
Since you got it.
So, we can certainly hire someone, fresh out of school. I'm really much more interested in the candidates, who they are as a person, since they're going to be working with our youth, and we can, extension programming is based on community needs and interests, and so this person's program would reflect what our needs and interests are here. So experience is always great. Would love to have it, but ultimately, that's one of many factors for considering the hire.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we've got him, I think.
Awesome.
Go for it.
I didn't scare him away.
Give me a few more questions than you thought.
No, that's fine.
Got me now?
We got
Yeah.
you, buddy.
Okay, yes, I'm for the 4-H program. It's a great opportunity for kids to, to learn some stuff. I've always supported 4-H. I think it would be $7,500. Hey, that's good for education.
All right. Any other discussion?
No, sir.
Okay. And I think it's a great opportunity and hope that right person comes along. So, I will make a motion that, we actively pursue this 4-H director and ask for a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So you keep us posted, and if that person comes along, I think all these folks in here would love for that person to come in and maybe give a little presentation as well, and tell a little background of that.
It's a deal.
It'd be fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, number 6, under new business, we have Sheriff Dane Kirby with end of life on the tag readers for our patrol cars. Hang on a minute. Make sure we get this. They got on.
Sounds good to me.
Y'all excuse me just a second, I apologize. I'm trying to, Major Bozen wasn't able to make it this evening, and he's the one that had the paperwork on the numbers, so. My
Got caught
apologies.
off guard.
No.
We should have let Jill know it after all.
That means we can lowball you here, right?
Well, you're gonna have to pay the bill so it don't matter what I say. Whatever you say. I mean, I'll tell you anything you wanna hear, but when the bill comes, you're gonna have to pay it.
And what we'll do without these cell phones, right?
And I think I can wing it without it if I have to.
Make a motion. My apologies for bothering you this afternoon, sir, but what was the vote count on those tank readers? Okay. Gotcha. All right, so well, I thank you. I'll hold back at you. Bye-bye.
You didn't remember either, did
It's
you?
in the office.
Okay.
So,
Anyway, we run license plate readers on 2 different patrol cars, our interdiction guys. And, part of the license plate reader system is the high-speed cameras that they have. They have 3 on each car, and that's what actually is able to read the license plate at high speed. Those things have a life. And I'm being told what happens to them is they're nitrogen filled, and they have seals that keep everything sealed, and over time they dry rot and age, and the seal don't hold anymore, and when air and moisture starts getting in there, it kills your cameras. And that started happening to one of ours. And I'm here tonight to ask y'all to replace those cameras. If I'm not badly mistaken, I think that quote is in the $8,000 range. Does that sound right to you? I think it is.
honestly, I didn't
I'm
see
thinking
it.
it's somewhere in the $2,500 range per camera, and there's, I think, 3 cameras on each car. So,
So how many are we looking at?
3.
3?
Yeah, it'd be around
Just one car?
8,000. Yeah, just one car. The others are still holding up on the other ones.
What's the life expectancy? Sheriff?
You know how long we've had those? It's been a while. It really has.
6 or
Over
7.
5 years, I'd say.
We got a warranty or something on it?
Not this long, they don't.
I mean,
They did have a warranty on them because we ran into some problems earlier on that the warranty, I think I recall correctly, covered. It seems
So
like.
we'll have something like a year or 2. A new one, we're looking for a new one, right?
Oh, yeah, they gotta be new. You can't buy them used, yeah.
These are technology based pretty much.
They are high technology, very high technology. Something that would be something that I looked into one time before, and I don't remember the figures on it, but the cost of it is what scared us away from doing it. But we were looking at putting 2 stationary ones south of town down here, because every time somebody comes up here and commits a crime like a pharmacy burglary, or they bust into a convenience store, or they decide they want to steal new cars off Bill Holt's lot down here, they always come from the south and they always go back to the south. And we had those down there the other night when they got Bill's last 2 cars. We'd have got a picture of the tag of the getaway vehicle leaving. And dang it, every time that happens, I think, man, we need to revisit that. And then we think, well, we hope it don't happen no more. We won't need it. And then here it comes.
Right.
But anyway, that's why I'm here tonight, just to try to look about getting those replaced on that vehicle, so we can keep it running.
Sheriff, I don't see any issue with it, but I have a request, if we may.
Okay.
Is to table this till the next meeting until we have that.
Yeah, that'll be perfectly fine. Had I known I was gonna do that tonight, I'd
No.
have brought it, but.
I know everything kind of happened there at the last second,
Right.
and appreciate you coming.
Yeah, glad to, glad
If
to.
we, gentlemen, if we could table that, so I guess we can make a motion to do that too, right?
We can get all the details.
All right, and Jill can come back and present it next time she can show us the amount, right?
Very good. All right, thank y'all.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Gentlemen, I'll make that motion that we table this till our next regular meeting on the 26th, until such time as we can get the bottom line figured.
I'll tell you what, if I could reserve
Mhm.
the opportunity to come back before you here in the next few minutes, if I can, I might be able to get that figure for us. How about that?
That sounds
Would that be
good.
proper?
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Okay.
All right. Well, that being said, we'll just postpone this one for a moment.
Table it momentarily.
Table it momentarily. We'll skip to number 7. This is Deputy EMA Director Patrick Cook, to upgrade our outdated phone system at the 911 center.
And Jill.
And
So, really what we have here is 2 projects we'd like to look at. The phone system at the 911 center, it's been in since 2014. We actually moved it from the old center to the new center, and we did that about 3 years ago now. Since then, really nothing's been done to it, upgrades or otherwise. So it's time to look at upgrading that system, the back end and the front end computers that run that. And that's what runs all the calls that the dispatcher answer. And so that's part of the one quote here, that's the larger one to upgrade all that system. The second smaller quote here, that is to add a 4th answering position. We currently have 3, and this would add the 4th. And that would also complete the 4 stations so we can have a 4th dispatcher for our backup anytime. So the total to do both projects is $122,200. And that also includes 4 years of maintenance, hardware, and labor. And so 4 additional years after the first year, so a total of 5 years of service on that system.
too bad we didn't have that on this last one, right? We had another year or 2. So, by doing this, if we do this, we're up to date on everything, and is the phone system we have now, is it just lagging behind? I mean, are we having, or is it?
Currently, there's not any problems with the phone system. No major problems with the phone system.
There what? No major
No
problem?
major
No major problems with the phone system.
Okay.
They can still take 911 calls, but, you know, as the system gets older, there's potential there for that. And, the company that put in that system no longer services that brand of system, so we found another vendor that can service that for us, which is Dalton Communications out of Dalton, so they can be here within an hour and a half or so. Phone call.
And I see that's important. Well, that's a big cost, just a service contract,
It is.
service plan.
They're available.
Almost $22,000 right there.
Right.
And that's for 4 years?
4 additional years.
4 additional years?
The first year is included.
Okay,
So that's
so we
4
got
years
5.
after that. This is correct. And that's 24/7, 365.
We've always had a service contract, though, right? We just need one for emergencies.
Right.
Right, so we've always had that backup to get it fixed quickly, correct?
We have until recently, when the current vendor decided they wouldn't support our system.
So right now, we don't have service contract?
That's right. If something happened tonight, we'd probably have to beg Dalton Communications to come fix it for us.
Well, that's something that we really can't afford, to be honest with you.
No.
In that position.
No.
So, and as we get busier, and we know we're getting busier, that 4th station as a backup, do we anticipate at some point in time adding a 4th dispatcher full-time?
I don't know about full-time, but
Definitely part-time.
definitely part-time.
And if I ain't mistaken, again, it seems like the last report I got on emergency calls was over 1,200 in a week's time.
That's average.
Okay. So, I guess that is a lot of money, but at the same time, you know, if it's a needed, because we can't be without that average of 1,200 calls a week.
Well, and too, like if something happens right now,
Mr.
we
Chairman.
don't have any.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What about the 911 account we have that's supposed to cover equipment and stuff like that?
Yeah, that was the next thing I think he was gonna say was, wasn't it, Patrick?
Yes.
Where's the funds coming?
This would be covered by the 911 fund, so it would not be coming out of the general fund, it would be covered
Well, that's what that money came from, ain't it?
That's correct.
Well, I mean, we want to provide the best service for our people.
All right, is there any other discussion? Gentlemen?
No, we gotta protect our citizens.
We do, so I'll ask for a motion that we approve, the upgrade of our outdated phone system, and also to include the upgrade to the fourth station as well. I'll ask for that motion,
And it coming from
Make a motion.
coming from,
911.
the 911, yes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I'll ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we will have 5 years of service, parts and labor.
That's great.
What?
So the fourth station ad net wasn't included in the 4 years.
Maybe that's
But
something.
I think the back part of it will be, but not the actual hardware or the computer part, right? From my understanding.
Let's find out, see if you can go check that price too. See if they can add that into that price. You know, at no additional cost.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Number 8, new business. We have a financial report for second quarter fiscal year 2022, and the second quarter recommendation of the budget amendment. Ms. Walker.
If you've got an agenda, there's a copy of the financial, the second quarter report on the back of that also, if you want to read along. This is, for the second quarter, which totals up from the very beginning of the first all the way through. The total fund revenues received were $13,563,788.80. Total fund expenditures were $11,775,475.03. The net revenue over expenditures was $1,788,313.77. For overall percentage into the budget of 52.60%. All departments, overall average into the budget is 54%, with no departments over budget except the Fannin County Health Department due to a capital outlay item, which was a vehicle that was needed for the health department. And based on that, I make the recommendation that we amend that budget to allow for that capital outlay vehicle in there. One of the reasons we had approved it last year, it's attached, a copy of the minutes is attached to the item, is item number 3 in July the 13th of 2021 when that was approved in the amount of $28,464. And I think there was just some issues there where we could not get the vehicles at the time and we weren't sure when those were coming in. So that budget does need to be amended.
That's the reason for the recommendation.
Yes, the recommendation to amend that budget. And the full total amount is $28,505.84.
Okay. Commissioner Searcy, any discussion on that?
No, Sherry, sounds good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Patterson?
No, sir. I'm fine.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we amend, we approve the resolution to amend the fiscal year 2022 budget for the Board of Health in the amount of $28,505.84, and this was for the purchase of the truck that we approved for last year. So I'll make that motion and ask for a second.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
If this one came in last year late, we would have done this last year late, right?
I know it, yeah. No such luck, right?
to jump back to number 6? I think the sheriff has those numbers for us.
Yes, okay, so Jacob sent me the quote, it was $8,400, and that's $2,500 a piece for 3 cameras and 3 cables at $300 a piece. Must be an awful nice cable. Evidently they do something special, so there's the figures.
Okay. Any discussion on this?
I have none.
Commissioner Cersei, any discussion on this?
Yeah, Sheriff, what company is that?
It's vigilant,
Digital, how much did you say that was?
$8,400.
Okay, thank you.
And this will be paid out of the
So it's as close as possible, yeah.
What'd you say, Mr. Chairman?
This will be paid out of the public safety splost.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no further discussion on this. I'll make a motion that we approve the amount of $8,400 for the tag readers for the sheriff's office.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, number 10, board action of Fannin County roads. Got Mr. Ratcliffe on the phone with us? So we're thankful to have Mr. Ratcliffe at least be able to join with the phone, so we're thankful for that.
Okay, I got you on speaker phone.
Mr. Ratcliffe, we're to the part with board action for Fannin County roads. And this would be the time that we accept or take off.
Okay, we do have one road that we have a request to take off. It's off of Sturt Mountain. I think it's for roughly 6/10 of a mile. They'll leave us with 3/10 up to their gate. They have a property owners association, and I think everybody in there is in agreement to take that off. That way they can put up a gate and control who comes and goes.
Zach, what's the address again, where it's at?
Sturt Mountain, it's off of Wolf Creek. The total length of the road from Wolf Creek to where they say we ended at is 9/10. They're wanting to forfeit or give us back or take that road back on their side 6/10 of a mile. So at least with us with the 3 that we would have to maintain outside of their gate. So they won't put up a gate. So with that being, we don't do anything behind the gate or a private road, any kind of private road, so. The organization is called Sturt Highlands Property Owners Association, is what they are.
And so we will only have to maintain 3/10, did you say?
Yes, sir. That's pretty much what we've been maintaining anyway, because they have some signs that as you go through there where their gate would be, it says it's private property owners in there.
Right.
So when I see that, I don't go beyond that, because that tells me it's private property regardless if it's on our list or not. And so we really haven't been maintaining that in there anyway.
Okay.
Somehow something will happen in the past. I don't really know what happened, but I couldn't find anything in the minutes or whatever we have been accepted in. So it's just a matter of just getting everything correct.
Making it legal.
Yes, sir, that's it. And I can find, 3/10 wasn't a problem, so, but the other part was, so.
Okay, are there any others?
That's the only one that I know of right now that's wanting to be taken off.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple requests to take in, and with that being said, the ones that they're wanting to take in, it looks like they're going to need quite a bit of work, and we really need to look at them real close and see what needs to be done before we take them in, because you talk, you know, taking in something blindly, you could set yourself up for a lot of, expense, so we really need to look at it. So I would say the ones that we got on the list that we want to look at probably are to postpone it to at least the first of the year, and let's get a good look at it.
Would you be able to reach out to those who are requesting and explain that to them?
Oh, yes, no problem.
Okay. So other than that, we just have the, removal of 0.6 of a mile.
Correct.
Commissioner Searcy, any discussion?
Yes, sir, I just wanna ask you, if we're gonna wait till after the first of the year, are we gonna be able to look at the roads down at the community around Manor Bluff?
Yes, I think that was part of the request, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
Mr.
correct.
Had mentioned earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Patrick?
I have no questions.
I'll make a motion that, we, just, I guess we remove 0.6 of a mile out of the 0.9 of a mile off of Stewart Mountain, out of the Stewart Highlands subdivision property, where we would only maintain 0.3. I'll make that motion, ask for a second.
I second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Mr. Ratcliffe, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, thank y'all.
We
Thank you,
appreciate
Jack.
that. Number 11, underneath is board action of the Fannin County amended alarm ordinance. We went back, looked over this again. I think, the biggest changes are adding the fire, department to this and changing the amounts. That ordinance can be seen. Do we have copies of that ordinance?
We do have a few copies of it. It is also on the website.
So, anybody that wants to take a look at that, you're more than welcome to. So I think this will be good for all of us, is what it will be. So, I know we had 2 public meetings on that, so, I'll ask for a motion that we adopt, the Fannin and the amended alarm ordinance, Fannin County amended alarm ordinance. I'll make a motion, or ask for a motion, I'm sorry.
I make a motion.
I'll ask for a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. That brings us down to public commentary.
Mr. Chairman, one
Yes,
quick
sir.
question, when will that take effect?
Sir, could take effect as frequently as soon as tonight, but I believe that we had provided it here for a time period. If you will give me a minute while we do public comments, I will find that out for you.
All right, public commentary. If anybody would like to, speak, come up, raise your hand, come up. Mr. Webb.
I'm Joe Webb. I live in the southern part of the county in the Dial area. I'd like to talk about planning and workshops and change. First year we talked about the opportunity for citizens to participate in planning everything. And we talked about the fact that we had the opportunity for the 5-year comprehensive plan. I did attend those meetings. I'm actually on an email list there. Nothing's happened much in the last 60 days. I mean, we went to a few meetings. There's actually been no feedback to the public. I would imagine sometime in the next 2 or 3 months, we'll get a book like this. It'll be called a 5-year comprehensive plan. Didn't see much opportunity for actual citizen participation and discussion. One of the things that came up actually was mountain protection. And every time we have one of these meetings, there's a variance request. And every meeting, someone says, boy, that's pretty steep. I would like to see us actually do do some workshops on our major ordinances. I know we've had a few changes like we just had on the alarm ordinance where we changed a little amount or something like that. But we've never really comprehensively sat down as a community and looked at a number of our ordinances that are really important to all of us for a long time. And you can go down the list of your ordinances. They're basically interest groups for most anything that you do in this county, whether it's animal control or whether it's theater or the arts. They're interest groups. But anyway, mountain protection, I think, is one of the legacy items that this board needs to address. There are funding things on a lot of things that we could look at. We don't know where a lot of the money is coming from to pay for a lot of the projects we hear about, but we do hear very positive things about the surplus within the budgets. So I'm once again asking that we look at our ordinances, whether it's the alcohol ordinance, which we spoke about a few weeks ago, or whether it's mountain protection, or whether it's anything. We need to review our ordinances, and workshops would be the way to do that. So I would encourage y'all to basically call the public together on specific issues, and let's see if we can do some work. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Donaldson?
Yeah, have you heard a schedule for the beginning of the road improvements, chip sealing on the specific roads?
Mr. Ratcliffe would have that information probably a little bit better. I'd be glad to reach out to him to get that schedule. I do know that we did start on the road widening of Cup King, and that will be, if I'm not mistaken, coming up for, I believe it's coming up for bid for to be repaved. As far as the chip seal projects, I don't know a timeline, but I'll be glad to find that out for you and see. I'll be glad to get with him tomorrow, matter of fact, and see if I can email that to you.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Public commentary? Okay, we'll close public commentary. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to go back to the alarm ordinance. Did find out the effective date, and I do need to make a motion for that date. The effective date will be September the 1st, so I will make a motion that the amended alarm ordinance go into effect September the 1st. I'll make that motion. Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, brings us down to executive session. Gentlemen, I have a need for executive session.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. While in executive session, we discussed real estate, personnel, and litigation, and no decision was made. I will make a motion to accept a settlement with Ricky Lewis from ACCG as it pertains to workman's comp in the amount of $90,000. I will make that motion. Ask for a second.
Second to motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I will make a motion that we dismiss. We adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you for coming.